Hi everyone, welcome to Maximum Attack Rallying. It is rally week. We have another dose of European tarmac to enjoy. You'd better make the most of it as well, because if, like me, you are a fan of tarmac rallies, we've only got one more after this. That's Rally Japan in a few weeks after Portugal, so the rest of the season after that is all on the loose. So if you do like seeing rally cars on the black stuff, then not many opportunities left. Anyway, let's get on with the show, and if Croatia is anything to go by, then we are in for a rip snorter of a rally, especially as we have some new and returning faces for this one. Before we talk about that though, perhaps we should have a little chat about the route. So there are 18 stages across the weekend. That's 301.3 kilometres. Action kicks off on Thursday. There is the 1.8 kilometre Las Palmas Super Special stage, and that is a proper side-by-side, head-to-head Super Special. I quite like those. Not everyone is a fan, but I think they're good. I think they're interesting, and it helps newbies to watch the event more easily and get a flavour for things, so no complaints there. Friday features 7 stages, so you've got the 13 kilometre Valesco test opening the action, then you've got Tahida at 18.62 kilometres, and then you've got Mogan, that's the longest of the day, at 21.7 kilometres. Those 3 are repeated after midday service, and then we go back to the Super Special to round out the day. The route on Friday is a little bit different to how it was last year. You've got a mix of some of the roads used on Saturday and Sunday from 2025, so things are a bit mixed up compared to last year. Saturday is made up of 2 loops of 3 stages, so that starts with Maspalomas at 13.47 kilometres, then you've got Aruca at 13.74 kilometres, and then you've got the longest stage of the weekend, which is Moya, that's 28.9 kilometres. Those 3 again repeated after service, but no Super Special on Saturday, so just the 6 stages. Sunday then has 2 passes of Ingenio, that's 25.93 kilometres, and then Santa Lucia at 13.27. That is obviously the power stage as well. No service on Sunday either, so there is something to watch for there. Obviously, if anyone has any problems in the morning, then they are going to be in trouble for the rest of the day. That means not too much margin for error on that relatively short final day. I think crucially though, this is a very different rally to Croatia. So while both are tarmac, this one is very different indeed. I don't really like the comparison to racing, but if any rally deserves it, it is probably this one. It should be fast and furious. There is smooth asphalt on the whole. It should be a very racy event. Obviously, we do have the weather factor with this being an island. We've got lots of elevation changes. Obviously, you can be down by the coast or up in the hills, so that means there is plenty of scope for changeable weather. I have looked at the forecast. Temperatures don't look super high. There is obviously a chance of some weather coming in though. I have potentially seen some rain forecast at times over the weekend, so nothing is guaranteed, and as I said, it very much depends on where on the island you are, whether you're driving in bright sunshine or fog or rain, so it should be interesting from that point of view. Enough of all that though, let's get into who is going to win. Oliver Solberg and Elfyn Evans were the fastest men in Croatia, of course, but they both binned it. So let's not repeat that, if possible, please, chaps. But they should, I think it's safe to say that they should both feature at or very near the top of the timesheets. The major spanner in the works for them, though, this weekend could be the return of Sebastian Ogier. He is back after missing the last round. Obviously, we saw him at the Safari Rally. He's going to be looking to make up ground, isn't he, Ogier? He's not had such a strong start to his part-time campaign as he did last year, which obviously took him to his 9th title. He's going to be pushing, isn't he? You have to say, if he is looking to pull off another championship miracle, he's going to be pushing on. Will he do it? That's a good question, isn't it? We will come to that, I'm sure. Of course, we have to remember Takamoto Katsuta. He has won the last 2 events, and perhaps even Thierry Neuville, who came very close to winning in Croatia if it hadn't been for that power stage boo-boo, and perhaps even Sami Pajari, because he was showing in Croatia that he's a force on tarmac as well. We are obviously missing last year's winner, Kalle Rovanperä. He is not there after deciding to have a break. Unfortunately, his break has turned into something longer, hasn't it, because he had to pull out of his single-seater commitments for medical reasons. So that is a shame, and obviously a shame he is not here this weekend. It was Ogier that finished second last year, so he's the highest placed finisher in terms of the current crop. Can he do it again? Can he win the rally? I'm not sure about that. I think he's going to be there or thereabouts, isn't he? This is Ogier we're talking about, but I think, you know, if you look at Solberg and Evans, I mean, they should have the pace, shouldn't they? They're both match sharp, they're both hungry, they're both really on it right now. So, you know, I think it's going to be difficult for Ogier. You know, he's not had the time in the car that they've had. That said, you know, if we do see any Croatia-like moments, you know, you can guarantee that he's going to be there and more than happy to pick up the pieces. If I do have to pick a winner, then I keep backing Elfyn Evans, and unfortunately he keeps letting me down. Part of me wants to do it again, just because the law of averages dictates that sooner or later I have to be right. That's probably stupid and not a very good way to make predictions. I also have a little bit of a feeling that Solberg might make an error. He has shown, you know, he is still learning, and it is possible that he can make little mistakes. That said, you know, he might be well in the mood to bounce back from what happened in Croatia, and well up for it and determined. I can't sit on the fence though, can I? Okay, I'm going to say my top three is Oliver Solberg, Sebastian Ogier, and Elfyn Evans. That's what I'm going to go for. I might not be right. I might be right. I'm usually not. But that's what I'm going for. I haven't put Katsuta, Pajari or Neuville in there. I think they got a little bit lucky on the previous event, obviously with Solberg and Evans both going off. And I think on that basis, you know, those three other Toyotas are going to be absolutely on it. And for me, that just means that those guys aren't going to be in the top three unless something happens to the podium finishers I have predicted. I do feel a bit concerned for Neuville, to be honest, for this one. Hyundai only won a single stage, I think, in 2025 on this rally. Obviously, the I-20 Rally 1 has moved on since then. But, you know, like I said, you know, if Solberg, Ogier and Evans are all on song, can he really match the pace in that car? I'm not sure he can. I think the same probably goes for Adrian Formeau. He still obviously needs a little bit of fortune, doesn't he? He's not had a very good start to the year and still looking for that first WRC win. Obviously, we've got Danny Sordo as well. He is back in the Hyundai for the first time this year. He had a run out in the car at Rally Lana recently. He pulled out of the event, basically. Obviously, was super fast, but didn't complete the event, pulled out before the final time control, I think it was, just to make sure he wasn't on the results. But, you know, he's going to be keen to make the most of his first appearance this year and of his being on what is technically his home event. The thing is, though, with Sordo, you know, obviously a very capable driver, but like Esa-Pekka Lappi and Hayden Paddon, he is there to do a job, so I wouldn't expect fireworks. He's just going to be there to make sure he scores strong points for the team. But it could, I hate to say it could be a difficult weekend for the Hyundai team, because they're pretty good at difficult weekends at the moment, aren't they, unfortunately? We do, of course, just need to touch on M Sport as well, don't we? So, let's start with John Armstrong, because he's flavour of the month, isn't he, at M Sport? He, again, showed good pace in Croatia. Obviously, that is a rally that he knows, having won it last year when it was part of the ERC. Thing is, though, he has been to the Canary Islands before as well, 3 times, I want to say, once in a Rally 2 car at least. So this could be another place where he can demonstrate good speed once again. That said, I think what I would like to see from John this weekend is a step in terms of getting through the rally without any errors. Obviously, we saw that mistake in Croatia where he hit a curb and did some damage, and he went off the road in Monte Carlo as well, didn't he? So what I want to see is a clean run, you know, and if he can match that speed with a good, clean rally where he completes all the stages without any problems, then that is another major step forward, isn't it, in his development as a Rally 1 driver. And I think that, you know, if he could do that, the plaudits would just keep on coming, wouldn't they? As for his teammate Josh McAleen, what can he do this weekend? I think for me, survival has to be the name of the game. You know, he has had such a miserable year this year. There have been some mistakes. There's been plenty of issues and problems with the car as well. So it's not, you know, it's not all his own fault by any means, even though it must be really difficult when Armstrong is getting all the hype. But if he can just get through this rally, no problems, he will be able to breathe a huge sigh of relief. And I think, you know, that would be a good start. Steady the ship and then start to build from there. I think, you know, that would be a really good place for him to be in terms of where he has been, which has not been a good place at all. As for WRC2, we should talk about that. Johan Rosell won in Croatia, didn't he? He won that pretty comfortably, and you have to say that the Lancia Ypsilon Integrale was the class of the field. Between him and Nikolai Gryzin, they won 13 stages out of 20. So for me, it is pretty hard to look past Lancia again this weekend. Gryzin was hampered by an issue on Saturday in Croatia, so if he can avoid any problems like that, it should be a really good fight, shouldn't it, between those two Lancias. Who's going to win? Oh, that's a tough one, isn't it? I would probably bet on Rosell, but yeah, as I said, if Gryzin can avoid problems, he's bound to be in amongst it, isn't it? But I mean, look, if you look at the entry for WRC2 for this event, it is, you know, as you would expect, to be honest, for a Spanish tarmac event. You know, the entry is sensational. I'm just going to read the big names because, yeah, it is a proper entry, this one. Leo Rosell, Roberto Dapra, Arthur Pelamorgue, Eric Cameli, Diego Domingos, Alejandro Cachon, Jan Solons, Emil Lindholm, Alexei Lukaniec, Malia Hansen, Pablo Sarrazin. I mean, pick one, you know. As I said, I expect the Lancias to dominate, but there are so many people on that list that could win the rally. WRC2, as it has been for years, is, you know, it is a proper category, isn't it? So there is bound to be good competition there. So if you're not interested in Rally 1, do keep an eye on that at least. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up my predictions there. Make sure you let me know in the comments below who you think is going to win the rally overall and who you think is going to come out on top in WRC2. And on another note, while I was writing some notes for this video, I did think to myself, what can I do to make these previews better and more interesting? So if there's anything you'd like to see, do pop that into the comments as well, because I'm all for making these videos better and making all of my videos better, really. So if there's anything you want to see, do let me know. There's obviously lots going on outside of the rallies right now, isn't it? We've had talk about Tanak returning to the WRC as he has been testing the 2027 Toyota. Perhaps we will chat about that on Thursday, along with anything else that is going on. Otherwise, I will just say thank you as always for watching. Do hit those like and subscribe buttons. I very much appreciate it, and I will see you again in the next video.